the Author to Author podcast series with award-winning author Pamela R Haynes.
Welcome to the podcast.
Dalgety Herbal Teas produce 100% natural high-quality organic teas using only the best ingredients. Available now from all major supermarkets, or please visit our website at dalgety.co. Dalgety Herbal Teas.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night, lovely listeners. I am your host, Pamela R Haynes, award-winning author of Loving the Brothers. Remember, the discount code which follows this series is A2AS2 from the lovely people at Dalgety Herbal Teas. Why not claim 10% discount of your next Dalgety tea order? Taking part in the author-to-author competition questions could not be easier. So listen carefully to the podcast and answer the competition question which follows the episode. Reach out to me on social media at Loving the Brothers Author on Instagram and Loving the Brothers by Pamela R Haynes on Facebook. The competitions close every Friday, so why not enter and become one of our author-to-author winners? Today we have a fantastic guest joining us, all the way from Birmingham in the UK, and her name is Sbrina. She will be talking to us today about her book, Family First. Well, welcome to the Author to Author podcast and a brand new episode. I wanted to say thank you for gifting us 2 copies of your book, Family First. I know you by 2 names, Sbrina and Glenice. So can you explain, and how would you like to be addressed for this interview?
Okay, so my government name is Glenice, and my pet name is Sbrina. I think comes from my grandmother. And so I rather to be addressed as Sbrina. It's what I grew up with. It's how I grew up being called Sbrina rather than Glenice. I'm more used to Sbrina.
Okay, that's no problem, Sbrina. But I noticed that the spelling is unusual as well. So why is that?
Oh, I actually changed the spelling. The spelling is originally Sabrina. But when I was doing my book, I changed the spelling because I noticed, like, when you Googled Sbrina, it would always come up with the teenage witch. And I didn't want to be, associated in that way. When people are looking for stuff or anything, they associate it with the teenage witch, or they can't find it because of that. So I just took the A out, the first A out. Still say Sbrina, I think.
Where in the world are you originally from, and where are you based now?
I'm originally from Jamaica. I was born in Spanish Town in St. Catherine. I grew up in Kingston, in a place called Cockburn Pen. That's Kingston 11. So that's where I came to England in 1997 when I was 11 years old. So I've been here ever since. I'm based in Birmingham in England.
Okay, so when you came from Jamaica straight to Birmingham, and you put down roots in Birmingham, that's where you're from now.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Have you had the opportunity to go back to Jamaica? I'm sure I saw something on social media that suggested that you were there on holiday.
I was there not long ago. Last year summer, I was there. I'm always back in Jamaica. I enjoy it so much. It's like when you're in Jamaica, you just feel that at peace. So I'm back and forth all the time. I enjoy it immensely and I love it.
What was it like traveling during a pandemic?
It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It flowed naturally just the same. The only thing was everyone was wearing masks except for myself because I can't breathe in those things. So I had my exemption card. So for me, it was fine. And the kids enjoyed it. They enjoyed the plane ride and everything. So it was fine. Except for when I was coming back, the rules seems to be more restrictive when you're returning than when you're leaving. It was a weird one for me. It was so much more restrictive. It was more do this, do that, blah, blah. I felt like I was, it was the end of the world and I was being quartered off to a little space.
Did the children enjoy Jamaica then?
The older one didn't. The younger one did to some extent. Unfortunately, I went in a time where everything kept being locked down in Jamaica, even though England was open. Jamaica was under lockdown every minute and the time schedule. So we didn't get to do a lot. as I wanted to do, and we didn't get to because of the timing issue and the lockdown. So they didn't enjoy as much as I wanted them to and do a lot of things. So the older one, sorry, mosquitoes completely ruined him.
Oh, bless his heart. Bless his heart. Yeah, I can relate to that. Whereabouts in Jamaica did you stay?
I stayed with my husband in Kingston, in Copper and Pen.
Oh, right. Okay. So you were home. Fantastic. So when did you start writing, Sbrina?
I started writing in 2016. I started writing. It was just something to pass the time. I started writing. A lot of people don't know. I started writing while I was incarcerated in 2016.
Right. Okay.
So while I was locked up, I used to do a lot of programs and, just to pass the times. And I was the head of a lot of the programs that was happening in the prison at the time. So I had access to a laptop, which, because I was doing minutes and stuff for them while I was there, just to pass the time. And I had read all the books in the library, but all the ones that was of interest to me, and I just couldn't find anything else to read. And while I had the laptop, I had finished my minutes and stuff in the night, and one of the ladies suggested that, why don't you write something? And I started to write this story. And actually, Family First is actually the second book I started to write, even though it's the first I've published.
Well done to you, because it's the classic, if you don't see the book you want to read on the shelf, write your own. And that's exactly what you did. So congratulations on that. What was the first title called? You said you wrote 2 books.
The first title is called Pepper. And I've turned that one into the third book of this Family First series. I integrated it into it.
I see. So how many books are there in the series?
So far there's 3.5. So I think this series could go as far as it just can keep developing. There's so much to be said and to be discovered, within this book. Like, it's about the set of triplets. So there's 3 different stories right there. So there's so much more, and there's so many different within the book. There's so many different families within the book. So there's also their stories to be told.
Let's stick with family first. Tell us about the triplets, Winter, Autumn, and Storm.
So Storm is the only male counterpart within the triplets. You have Winter and Autumn. Autumn's the firstborn. She thinks because she's the firstborn, she's got to protect. She's got to be, look after them, even though they can look after themselves. She's the protector. She's the provider. This is just in her height, but she's a lover of dancing. She has musical talent, and she's the solid foundation. She's the one the more level-headed.
Right. Okay.
Whereas in her sister, Winter, is the opposite to her. Her sister is more outgoing, more outspoken, but her sister have a love for fashion. And with that, their brother is the youngest. He came last. Being the youngest, the sisters feel they've got to protect, their little brother at all costs. And he, being the only male within the triplet, feels he's got to protect his sister at all costs. So there's that sibling protection that keeps getting thrown back and forth. He feels his duties is to take care of his sister, to make sure that they're okay, make sure no one breaks their heart, make sure no one hurts them. He's the protector, where they think that's their job also. Like, you have the book, the triplets are mixed race. I think that's the correct term.
Yes.
The political term. So their father is Caucasian and their mother is Black and from Jamaica, because I had to put my heritage in there. It wouldn't be a book by Sbrina if I didn't. But anyway, so being that their father is Caucasian and their mother is Jamaican, this whole book is basically I flipped it on all aspects. Whereas at the time when I was writing it, there was a lot of things I was hearing on like social media and in the streets, on like newspapers, that the Black fathers are leaving their children behind and stuff like that. I would go to comedy shows when I was on license. I'd go to comedy shows, and that would be the joke. Like, the joke would be when the Jamaicans that we would leave our children, the men will leave our children behind. And I'm like, that's not a thing I want to associate Jamaica with, or not even
Right.
just Jamaica, Black men in general. Because I'm like, white men leave their children too.
Yes.
Indian men leave their children too. It's not just it's not just a Black thing. Why do we still have to be? So in this book, I switched it up and goes, you know what? I'm going to make him. That's the only reason why they had a white dad, just for that concept only. Because I was like, no, I knew in the beginning that their dad would abandon them, but I deliberately made them have a Caucasian dad just to say white men leave their children too. It's not only Black people. So that was my only political stance I could do for myself.
I mean, how easy was the writing process for you?
To be honest, it was actually the naturalist thing I've ever done. I never knew it just kept coming and going. And like, I just needed a room with a computer and it just flowed naturally. I listened to people saying how they took years and how they did this and how they did. And I'm sitting there thinking, so it felt so natural to me that the story just kept flying. I'm a type of person that you see walking down the road. I've said it before. I'll be walking down the road and 1,000,001 scenarios will be going through my head. And I'll be walking and even things that are impossible are going through my head and I'm laughing at it. Because I may have come up with a funny theory of something and I'll laugh at it. People will tell me stories about something and in my head, I'm flipping it and making it a joke or something. So when writing the book, it just flowed so naturally. It was ridiculous. That's why writing the book was so quick for me personally.
How long did the whole process take?
Writing the book itself took no less like a month because I had nothing to do while I was in prison. I had a computer, so I would just, when I come from work, because I was on license, so I'd go to work and come back. I'd sit there and write till about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, then go to bed, wake up, eat, sleep, and repeat the same process. So,
I mean, that's my next question then. Would you describe yourself as an early riser or a night owl? What was the best time for you to do your writing?
I'm a night owl. At night. I love sleep.
Yeah.
My bed is my best friend. I love sleep. My bed is my best friend. So I am a night owl. I love all things. I clean at night. I prefer the night. If I was to say, if I was a character in anything, I would be a vampire.
Okay.
So if I would be a character or anything, I would be a vampire because the night is my own.
So tell me, have you made any New Year's resolutions?
No, not this year. This year I've told myself none. You're not making any because I've just turned 35 last October. So I'm like, you know what? Every year we do this thing where we talk about new me, new you, new this, new. And 2 weeks in, the new things just drop off inch. And I didn't want to do it this year. I just thought, no. So if you're going to do something or you're not, leave it alone.
Good for you. What books are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading a science fantasy, sci-fantasy, I think it's called. I think it's called The Alpha Dark Fae by, I can't pronounce her name, Meg Zion X, I think her name is. It's a fantasy book. I've become a fan of Audible, and it's nothing but fantasy and rom-coms and stuff like that. So I'm forever listening to books and stuff.
Could you see Family First becoming an Audible book?
Definitely, I'm working on it. I'm trying to find production and stuff, so I'm working on it. Something I want to happen.
Wonderful. Tell us about your other projects.
At the moment, I'm working on several different things. I have 2 fantasy books that I'm writing, paranormal fantasy books. I'm working on a urban fiction, the next door neighbor. That I wanted to sort that out I'm co-writing that one with my friend. That's going to be, I think the next door neighbor is going to be one of those ones that hits you differently.
Is it the same genre as Family First?
Yes. No, Family First, I would say more is a rom-com.
Right.
So Family First, I would say more is a rom-com, but this one's direct urban fiction. Definitely.
Right. Okay.
Up there with the name Ashley Antoinette, Carl Weber and all those guys. So it's more of an urban fiction, I would say.
Yeah, I very rarely see urban fiction. Is it going to be set here in the UK?
Yes, we're basing it in the UK. Personally, I write where I know because I can't describe some places in America. Like even my paranormal that I'm working on, it's set in America, but so I have to do a lot of research on the place. So it's very hard when you're writing a book and you have to write it somewhere else. This is why I wrote Family First, and I made sure all the places that I wrote about is places that I knew, places that I can walk down the road and describe it like the back of my hand. I have to know what I'm doing. I have to know what I'm writing. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. And I'm going to be spewing things and reading, thinking that don't make no sense.
Okay, so we've got some more books then to look forward to. When are they likely to be published?
Hopefully, book 2 of Family First. Fingers crossed, book 2 will be out this year. It's already completed, as you know. So Family First, book 2, it will be called Storm and Sunshine Saga. So that will be out this year. So that will be about the male character in Family First. It's about him and his relationships. So that's coming out. Fingers crossed, summertime. Something for you guys to read in the summer and enjoy.
Fantastic. You have 2 covers of your book. Tell us about the second cover, which I think is beautiful, by the way. I don't know who designed it for you, but it's a lovely cover.
The first book, the second cover was, I wanted to give people a face, or like some facial features of the triplets, because the original cover had no picture, no nothing, just words. So I wanted to give people something what I imagined it would look like. This is why they're characterized. But I wanted to give people something that they can use and mold their imagination up.
So what does your family think about you writing a book?
They're proud of me, but my family don't read. My husband don't read. They don't read unless social media crap. They don't read. Even though they all bought a book, it's like they will promote it for me, but they don't read. But they're very proud of the work that I've done.
And that's the main thing, isn't it? That they've supported you financially by buying a copy, even though that they're not readers themselves. But they've ultimately they're very, very proud of what you're doing and what you've done. Fantastic to know.
My son is my biggest supporter. Like, he walks and he went and told all his teachers, my mom's wrote a book, and you can buy the book. This is the book. Do you want a book? And he's the youngest, so, they're definitely proud of what I've done.
Good for you. So, other than writing, what are your hobbies?
My hobbies normally, I used to love going outdoors, but lately as I've gotten older, I eat, sleep and read everything. I read so much. It's ridiculous how much I read. If I'm not listening to a book, I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
So that's my spare time, reading. You can always catch me with a book, regardless whether it's audible or in hand or in my Kindle. Book has become my thing. As it was my thing from before, but before I used to go out clubbing and hang around with friends or traveling. But now when I've gotten older and I've got children, I'm more I'm a wife now, so I have to be more calm and collected and let go of all the loose traits, I would say, the loose traits. So I'm more reserved now, but I'm trying to be. I ain't going to say I'm trying.
I do think to become a good writer, you do need to be well read as well. And what I like about what you're saying, you're not just sticking to one particular genre of reading. You're reading science fiction, you're reading fantasy, you're reading a range of books. And that can only improve the quality of your writing going forward.
When I was younger, I used to read all those magazines. I was always reading Word Up, Bliss, all the girly magazines that was out, Cosmopolitan. My lunch money would go into all of that stuff.
Right.
My library card was always swiping when I was younger. My library card, I think I still have books out on my library card. That's how much I used to love reading when I was younger. So reading was always a part of my life. Now I'm older, I read more than before. I read so much more now. And I think reading, fundamentally, I think schools in particular need to push reading more onto children. That would broaden their horizon, broaden their spectrum, not to be so closed-minded, not to be so closed off from things that's happening to the world. Nowadays, you only see children read. The only reading they're doing is social media, the tweets, the TikToks, all those kind of things. But if we broaden our children's spectrum when it comes to reading, that can take them a long way. Literacy takes, in everything you do, you have to write your CV, you have to write your personal statement. Whatever you're doing, you have to be doing some form of writing. Reading will help you articulate what you're saying, what you're doing, and make it seem like you have more expansion on your vocabulary than the basics. Right now, that's all we're teaching our children is the basics.
That's a fantastic answer, Sabrina. Can you give one piece of advice for aspiring authors?
I would say don't be deterred. It's very hard work, and it can be so daunting and so draining. But once you can reread your own work and say, yes, this is it, you're already a writer. You're already a writer. You may have setbacks, but once you can read your work, I still read my work and laugh at it like it's someone else's work. You're already a writer.
From writing Loving the Brothers, and I've had the occasion to read from the book more recently, and I'm thinking, did I write that? Did I put that line together? And I surprised myself. So It's good to hear you encouraging people not to be put off from writing their own work. What was the highlight for you last year in terms of becoming a published author? Is there one memory that sticks out to you?
Yes, I had a review from overseas, someone from overseas. I don't know who it is, but they said they don't normally read, and the book was recommended to them. So, and they loved it. They'll be starting to read more. So that was very good for me, for myself. So, the fact that what I wrote encouraged someone to want to read more. That was very predominant for myself.
Yeah, it's very encouraging, isn't it, when you get an independent review like that from someone who really enjoyed their book. Tell me 3 words that describe you.
3 words that describe me. I don't have any 3 exact words that are radio worthy, but I think I'm outspoken. I'm very outspoken. I speak on everything that I think is right. I'm opinionative. And you can't shut me regardless of your opinion. My opinion matters more to me. So outspoken, opinionative, and joyful. I think I'm definitely the word joyful. I like the word joyful for me. Yes, joyful. No matter who I'm with, where I am, what scene I'm in, where I go, I make everyone smile. I give everyone, they're always laughing. So I think I'm very joyful.
Certainly that comes across when I've listened in on some of your Facebook lives with Yannick. Very high energy, very joyful, very opinionated, as you said. So that definitely is, those 3 words certainly encapsulates kind of person that you are as well. So Sbrina, where can listeners get hold of you? How can they find you on social media?
So you can find me on Instagram as Sbrina_book or Sbrina_Facey, or you can get me on Twitter under that's MSGS Facey, and I'm also on Facebook as Glenice Facey. For some reason, it won't let me change it to Sbrina, but I'm on there as Glenice Facey.
Okay, and can people order copies of the book or signed copies of the book directly from you?
Yes, you can order a signed copy from me. You can send me a message and I'll get that straight to them on either social media platform, or you can drop me an email at foryoutoenvy.info@gmail.com.
Excellent. Sbrina, we've come to the end of the interview already. I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the Author to Author podcast. I've learned a little bit more about you, which is really nice. I want to wish you all the best for the future, for this year, in terms of reaching your writing goals, and to thank you for giving up your time. Bye for now.
Bye.
If you're looking for her book on Amazon, Sbrina is spelt Sbrina, not to be confused with Sbrina the Teenage Witch. It's competition time now. Sbrina's book is about a set of triplets. What are their names? To enter the competition, DM me at Loving the Brothers Author on Instagram and leave your answer there. Don't worry if you're not on Instagram, you can also find me on Facebook at Loving the Brothers by Pamela R Haynes. Leave me a message there also. Good luck and have a fantastic week ahead. Bye for now.
Please join Pamela R Haynes for another Author to Author podcast coming soon.